Welcome to a deep dive of Don't Let the Old Man In, a series where we release 3 episodes a week for 3 weeks over December and January, highlights of the previous series. Enjoy. Let's start with the obvious piece. If I'm sitting in a pub or I'm listening to this and I'm going, what is imposterism? Tell us what it is.
It's that feeling that no matter what you've achieved, you don't deserve your success, that you got there somehow by accident or luck or charm. You've done a Stephen Bradbury, you've outlasted all of the competition and you've won the place, but you didn't win it on your own merits. And at any minute, anyone could discover that you don't really know what you're doing and you could be marched out with your possessions in a box. And you live in dread of this discovery.
Now, for those listeners who don't know, Stephen Bradbury is quite a famous Australian athlete who ended up winning in the Winter Olympics. Is that right?
That's right.
He was coming fourth, I think, and the first 3 candidates
literally fell over.
And he kept going. And he's often used as a metaphor for accidentally succeeding, which is not fair because he was as good as anybody. He stayed upright. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But your notion of referencing Stephen is it's not like the imposter sensation is I'm accidentally succeeding and I might be found out. Is that right?
That's right. I've managed to cover my tracks until now, but at any minute somebody could find out.
For someone listening to this and going, oh, that sounds like me. What are some of the classic symptoms?
Well, classic symptoms are doubting yourself and feeling this intense sense of fraudulence when you start something new or when you're about to tackle a big project. And that can manifest in multiple different ways. But some of the things that can happen are people working excessively to the point of burnout to try and make sure that they've over-prepared for every eventuality. They try and do what they would do if they knew what they were doing. The other way it can go is people holding themselves back, self-handicapping or sandbagging, where they say, oh, I'm going to be terrible at that, even when you know they're probably going to be really good. Or not putting their hand up for a promotion because they're worried if they can't cope at the level they're already at, how would they cope at the next level up?
So they're getting in their own way before they even start in that case.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Now, I said up front imposter syndrome, but I know you long enough to know that you don't like that word and you call it imposter phenomena. Tell us about that.
Well, it was originally conceptualised as the imposter phenomenon by Clance and Imes when they came up with this theory back in 1978. So it was never originally called imposter syndrome, but for some reason the popular press has picked up that term and it's almost universally called that. So that's what you would have read in the media. But the reason I don't like it is that it's not a diagnosable syndrome. It's not listed in the DSM-5. And I think that telling people it's a syndrome puts the onus on the individual. It pathologizes the experience and says that this is on you, there's something wrong with you. To people who are already feeling like there's something wrong with them, that just adds an extra burden to what they're going through.
I like that. Right. So it's not a syndrome. It's not listed as a syndrome. So let's stop calling it a syndrome and then we can maybe deal with it even
That's
easier.
right.
Okay. You talk about socializing and what we've learned. Alain de Botton, the English writer, he talks about in Status Anxiety this notion of meritocratic culture in terms of the notion of our worth equals our achievements. You know, you work hard, you succeed, therefore you deserve the success, etc. And therefore you don't work hard and you fail, you deserve that also, right? And it's kind of binary. And what strikes me by that is when you think of any kind of self-doubt, the notion of, hey, I've worked hard and I haven't succeeded, therefore I must be a failure. You know, that kind of socialized idea of the culture is reinforcing for me what I'm already wondering about myself. Is that what you've come across?
Absolutely. And I think that meritocracy can be quite toxic in that really strong message that it's all about the individual. And what we see in individuals experiencing the imposter phenomenon is that they attribute their success to external factors like luck or charm or the gift of the gab or everyone else fell over. They attribute their failures to internal motivators. I was not good enough. I didn't work hard enough. I was lazy. I wasn't conscientious. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not smart enough to do this.
That's really interesting. Let's underline that. When I am succeeding, it may not be down to me. It's down to the team that I'm in. It's down to the market's going well. It's down to the housing industry is going well. So therefore, my building business is going well. It's down to the wind, the rain, whatever it is. But when things go bad, it had to be my fault. And when you step back and just say that aloud, you realize, well, that can't be true. But you got to say it out loud and listen to it to realize it can't be true, right?
Absolutely. And that's often what I invite my coaching clients to do, to state these perceptions that they have, these narratives around how they've achieved their success out loud, and then listen to how strange it sounds when you vocalize them.
What does confidence and identity and imposterism, are the links between how our view of ourselves, the view we hold of our career, and our sense of confidence, like how is that impacted by this sense of imposterism?
There's not a direct link between self-doubt and imposter feelings, or confidence and imposter feelings, that the research has shown definitively. It is a distinct concept in its own right. And if you've read Tina Fey's autobiography, she talks about veering wildly back and forth from this incredible ego and feeling like she could conquer the world to, oh my goodness, oh no, I don't deserve to be here. I haven't earned my place. And I see that a lot in people. Sometimes they feel great about things, and then other times they feel crushed and like they can't go on.
One thing I've been wondering about, there's so much talk in the popular press and airport books, but be authentic, be your one true self, find your one true purpose, and it's almost like a magical nirvana of like, oh my God, my purpose has been revealed, and I'm on this new golden path, and there's a halo of light. And this notion of vocational drift, this idea of I'm in work, it may or may not be my perfect purpose, and in fact, as I progress, realizing it isn't, and doubt starts coming in then in terms of I should be doing something that I feel very, very purposeful about. I'm not, therefore I'm not good enough in this current role. Like, I reckon there's a link there between that. And I'm wondering, have we as a society put this notion of pursuit of the perfection purpose on such a high pedestal that we're creating an environment of doubting ourselves when we're not in that nirvanic type situation?
I think you're absolutely right. We love those stories about the little boy who decided he was going to be a vet when he was 5, and he grows up to be a vet, and that's all he does in his whole life. Or the person who has the epiphany in midlife after a career doing something. There's a sudden moment of realization when they think, oh no, this is not the path I should be on. I should be doing this. And we love those stories, and we market those stories until everybody else starts to believe that that's the only way to be, and that's how you achieve success. But the other side of that narrative is the idea that we have closed ourselves off to possibilities by narrowly focusing on that one purpose. We haven't adapted to a rapidly changing world that is presenting new opportunities for us as we go along. And there's also a survival instinct in there. Often for the first half of your career, you're just desperately trying to get a foot in the door. You're taking the opportunities that present themselves in order to be able to save enough money for a house deposit and then make the mortgage payments each month and support your family. And so you take whatever comes. And it's only once you've achieved a certain level of financial security that you find yourself having the luxury of being able to wonder a bit more about purpose and what you want to do for the second half. That doesn't mean that you wasted the first half or that it wasn't useful experience. The only way to have the knowledge that you have now is to have gone through the experiences that you have been through previously. So if you hadn't done that, you wouldn't be who you are now. You wouldn't be ready for the next lot of challenges ahead.
I love that, because that suggests then anyone who's got that sense of fraud, I shouldn't be here, or they might catch me, or I don't know how I've got away with this for so long, or etc. What you're saying is actually you are here, and you've got here because of the last 10 years. And if you use a metaphor of a house or something, you've been building foundations, really good foundations. But now at midlife, you've got a choice. You can choose to keep doing what you're doing and get better or do more of it. But you can also choose other things if you want to, because the building blocks of life are well established. And the sense of fraudulence might be what's just getting in your way of choice points.
Very true. Yes.
So for anyone who doesn't doubt themselves, that's a very normal process. That's what we do every single day. And that's where confidence kind of comes in from. And indeed, maturity comes from, hey, I've had 6 similar experiences to this one. I know how this kind of rolls out. But those of us who are doubting ourselves, it's probably a harder praise, because you actually got to go through the process of, I've got to not doubt myself to get to the phase of going, there's growth here.
But we've all had that experience. If you look at a baby learning to walk, they pull themselves up, they take a couple of steps, they fall over, and they get up and they do it over and over and over again. And the baby never doubts themselves. The baby doesn't say, I don't think I'm cut out for walking. I'm going to stop doing this.
Stop
it's
now.
Embarrassing.
That's right. I'm 6 weeks in. It's just too much.
That's right. You go out into the street and everybody's walking around. Yeah. And we have done this, we have persisted through failure, but some of us get the message, most of us perhaps, if you look at the research, it seems to be a majority of people who have imposter feelings at some time or another. In the way that we are socialized, in something that happens to us through the course of development, we somehow internalize the idea that it's not okay to make mistakes as we're learning, that we have to execute everything perfectly the first time, otherwise we don't deserve our place in the world.
My dad used to have a saying, which is, every man walks into the drum hole. What he meant by that is the drum hole is a hotel in my hometown. And the idea was, no matter where you are at 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, and no matter how much comparison you have between you and your older or younger brothers or sisters, etc., know this, that when you're an adult, you will all walk into the hotel on your own feet. I have never seen anyone crawl in here. A few might have crawled out, but they all walk in. and I've never forgotten that phrase, because it often reminds me, do you know what? When you overcome yourself, when you overcome your self-doubt, you all walk anyway, right? And so your idea of the baby doesn't check out from walking at 6 weeks. No, they end up walking into the hotel when they're an adult.
For sure. I come from an acceptance and commitment therapy focus or philosophy that I bring to my coaching. And so my view is that you can't get rid of negative thoughts. They bubble up. Everybody has them. They are part of the full spectrum of thoughts that we have. But the problems arise when we over-identify with those thoughts and we start to accept them as true, holus bolus, without questioning whether or not there's another way of looking at things. The sorts of ants that I see come up in my clients are the classic, I feel like a fraud. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I haven't got the experience. I've never done this before. Everybody expects me to know stuff and I don't know it. These sorts of things come up over and over. And to turn those into pets, performance-enhancing thoughts, takes adopting a growth mindset. So I don't know everything, but I'm learning. I don't know everything, but I can find out. Plenty of people who are not that smart have achieved this, so I don't have to be that smart to do it myself. So you're not trying to stop the thoughts, you're just countering them with something that's a bit more positive and moving you towards the actions that you want to be able to take.
So when you find yourself, and the trick here, of course, is to find yourself, right? Is to realize that I'm doing this, hence the conversation you don't want to have, as per David White. But when you find yourself thinking, to whatever kind of language you use, I'm not a fraud, or so I am a fraud, I'm not good enough, or there's nothing for me to add in this meeting, or whatever the phrase is, what you're saying is, hold on, let me turn that over. I am getting better at this. I am learning this. I'm staying curious about this. That person doesn't know everything either, and they're doing a pretty good job. That's the process, going from one to the other?
That's right. But you're right, there is an interim step of noticing and stopping yourself and pausing to observe that that is just a thought. And there might be some truth in it, or there might not be some truth in it. But there are also other ways of thinking about it.
I know you are a yoga teacher, and I want to talk about our body and where this comes in. But before I get there, I was at a mindfulness class recently, and the instructor was literally talking about observe the thoughts and try to watch them floating past, as opposed to you grabbing it and believing it. And so that interim step that you talk about, that first step, you've got to notice it. But before you can accept it and do something else, you kind of go, hold on, it's not getting me. I'm watching it, but it's not getting me. I'm just watching it, and then I can do something with it. Is that your experience?
Yes, very much so. And I'd like to say first that I know that the whole concept of yoga scares a lot of midlife men silly.
Well, it's more about what you wear and what happens when you bend over. I think that's the process.
I'm not suggesting that anybody has to get into a hot, sweaty room full of lycra or anything like that. But what I suggest to my clients is that they notice the bodily symptoms that happen when they're having these imposter thoughts. When they find themselves in the meeting and realize that they haven't spoken up and they haven't said anything, there are some physical signals. We nearly all get them. The clammy palms, the dry mouth, the racing heartbeat, the feeling of the blood rushing through our bodies, getting hot all over. So stop and notice that for a moment. And when you see it happening, think, aha, when I notice my mouth go dry, then I will direct my attention to my feet inside my shoes. And I'll spend a moment just very strongly identifying with the feeling of my feet, each one of my toes, the soles of my feet inside my shoes. Then I'll take 3 deep breaths, and then I will take action. I will speak up. I will do what I need to do next. It might feel like that takes an age, but in fact, nobody will notice you doing this, and it gives you a moment to reset yourself, to catch the thought, to realize that you're getting carried away with it, that instead of being the stone sitting on the sandy riverbed watching the thoughts flow past like little leaves on the tide, you are becoming one of the leaves and flowing away. Become the stone, ground yourself, feel your feet in your shoes.
I hope you enjoy that. Please feel free to subscribe, hit like, hit follow, whatever button's on your screen. We'd love if you sent this episode to a friend of yours. And in the meantime, don't let the old man in.